Hey y'all, we're back. I got one of my great friends with me, Raven Timmons, and really just want to introduce y'all to her. She's such an awesome person. She's a lot younger than me, but her testimony looks very similar to mine. She's been through and put herself through some of the same things I have and overcame some of the same things I have. So I told her share whatever she wants to share. You don't have to share too much. Too little is not a thing. There's no right or wrong in sharing your testimony. The word says that he is defeated by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So we share our testimony and we see the enemy defeated. We see Satan defeated. Not only in her life will she see that, but in y'all's life you'll see that just by her spoken story of her life. So here she is introducing y'all to Raven.
Hi. Okay, well, let's start off with when I turned 19, I was introduced to drugs. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it, but I struggled and kind of still am struggling with drugs being in my background and me being addicted to them. On April 4th, I believe, or April 5th, I was arrested for the first time. And
this year?
Yes, this year. And I went to Russell County and spent the night, which was the most terrifying situation I've ever been in my life. And there I vowed that I was going to make a change when I got out. The next day, or no, that Sunday, I came to a Dareth and decided that I was going to turn over a new lead in my life.
I remember that. I remember seeing you go to the altar. I remember seeing everybody pray for you. I remember everything about it. Yeah. And you did it.
I did.
It wasn't just a moment of,
I'm just going to say I'm going to do this and not do it.
And because a lot of times I feel like, even me, I've been called, like the Lord has called me to do something and lay something down at the altar, and it's a very emotional moment. I'm crying and I really want to give it up, but then and I see it all the time, and then people stand up and the moment's over. And real world hits, and they decide not to, take the step that the Lord was literally telling them to take. But you did.
I did.
You took that step.
I went to, the next day, I was in rehab.
Come on.
I stayed in rehab for roughly 45 days. The only reason I left was because I had a child at home, and I was really, really tough being away from all of that. Right. So I came home, but when I came home, I did a lot of things in my life differently. Right. And
you know what? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is good. That is a testimony right there, because I remember whenever I came to a period, and this was the last time I started using, I just knew I was done using. Everybody wanted me to go away for like a year. They had it in their mind, I needed a year-long program. Like that year was just going to do it. Like if I stayed 365, I was going to do it. But if I stayed 300, I couldn't make it. Yeah, but I told them, I said, no, look, I'm telling you, in my heart of hearts, I have made a decision. And I had. So I stayed 90 days. I stayed 90 days. A lot of people said that wasn't long enough, but look.
Well, that's what everybody...
We're living proof.
That's what everybody was worried about, is that me not staying the whole entire year, I was going to get out. Like, everybody had their doubts against me. That my brothers kind of bet on it. Right. Like, oh, she's got 3 months before she's back on the streets doing drugs. And stuff like that. And when I got out, it was tough because a lot of background between my brother and me with drugs and whatever. And
so it was just around you.
Yeah. It
was just around you. I mean, it's hard not to go back into the same environment that you left from, because that's literally your environment.
Yeah, and it was at my grandparents' house where I was living.
Right.
And there were several times where there was drugs left out on the counter, or he'd throw them at me. And there were even times where I had to leave with my grandparents out of town because they didn't want me there with him.
Right.
But I stayed going to church, and I still am going to church. I read my Bible and everything, and I feel like that life was not meant for me. Like, I thought maybe at one point it did. But now, I got since I've been out, I've got my own house.
Come on.
I'm 5 months pregnant.
Come on.
And
miracle, love it.
With a little girl at that.
Hey.
And we're starting to finally, me and my fiance and my son, our son, are finally starting to just get settled in and back into a routine of living as a family. And we're thinking about when we're going to get married and everything.
Right.
Because we're trying to wait till the time is right, because there was a lot of history between me and him and a lot of problems we had that we're trying to resolve.
Right.
But I think once we get those resolved and we talk about and fix some of the problems that we have, that we will get married.
Right.
And
let me tell you, a lot of turmoil happens in addiction between, it's so hard to be in a relationship and be on dope.
mm-hmm.
I've never been able to make it work. I tried for 16 years, and every time the dope would destroy the relationship.
Well, I think that's what happened.
It did.
I let dope destroy my life.
Right. And me too.
Over the course of 3 years, I almost lost custody of my son. I almost jumped off the 13th Street Bridge.
Mm.
I almost wrecked my car drinking and driving.
Right.
And it got to the point where I was sleeping at this guy's house with him in the bed, Cody in the bed, and his brother in the bed. So it got real bad. That we were sleeping on a twin-size bed mattress.
Right.
With all 4 of us, and it got really, really bad.
Right.
And Dallas was there trying to pull me out of it, but dope just kind of had its chains on me.
Oh, yeah.
But ever since I started coming here and I went to rehab, those chains have been broken.
They've been broken. Jesus broke them.
Oh, yeah.
So your life today looks like, like one of a normal person, you'd say, or I guess a productive person.
Oh, I wouldn't say productive.
Well, you're pregnant right now, so
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to kind of keep up housework and everything.
Right.
But that's been one of my main struggles since getting out of rehab, has been kind of feeling like I can do things without it. That's been one of my main problems with it.
Right.
And like I was telling you, that my family and everybody wants me to go back to therapy, and I'm going to start the Never Broken class here just to help with that. But doing things in normal life, because I got myself supported on dope for so long.
Oh, yeah.
It is so hard to just get back into a normal routine of things. And
yeah, and just have a normal life like that. So you've been clean 5 months.
No, I've been clean since April.
Okay.
So about almost 9 months.
9 months. That's awesome. So I can remember, I'm telling you, I can remember where I was in that place where I literally had to have dope to do anything. It always starts out, you just doing a little bit to have fun or whatever, but then it gets to the point where, you literally will not get out of the bed unless you have.
Well, that's how it all started for me. Was I was hanging out with some friends. They introduced it. I was on Adderall at the time, so one thing kind of led to another. Then I started using it to concentrate in school, and then
How young was you?
I was 19.
19, okay. So you was in college.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my son was 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it was after he turned 1, but I started using it to concentrate in school. And then once I saw how it helped me concentrate in school, well, then a friend of mine showed up on my doorstep, and I started hanging out with her, and she was on it, and she introduced me to these people, and I started hanging out with these people, then I started dating her cousin and doing bad things towards Dallas and all this kind of other stuff. And one thing led to another, where it got to the point where I'd get sick if I didn't have it.
Right.
Like I couldn't get out of bed, I couldn't do anything.
Right.
So
now 9 months clean, you're just still trying to just learn how to just function and operate in normal life or whatever, and you will, you will, I promise you. And like I said, you're pregnant now, so that that got to change things, so emotionally and physically. So
yeah, because when I went to rehab, that was one reason I was scared to get off of drugs, is because my weight. So I went to rehab at 130 pounds, got out of rehab at 200 pounds.
Right. I think that's the thing with a lot of girls. Crystal will tell you that's why she started doing dope, was to lose weight. In our generation, back then when meth first hit, it hit Phoenix City hard about 1994.
It still is.
I know, but you got to understand, like 1992, it really wasn't. And then here we are, 14, 13 years old, and it hits like a ton of bricks. Before you know it, everybody was cooking and everything else. So all the 14, 15, 16-year-old girls, they see that, oh man, I can do a little bump of this, or even just put a little bit in my mouth, and I won't eat all weekend, and I'll lose 5 or 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And so it started a whirlwind of young girls getting on it for that reason.
That's what got me caught, I think, in the most part, other than my actions with my son and everything.
People noticing just the weight drop.
People noticed how my weight was just dropping. Like I've never dropped weight like that before.
Right.
My weight dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped to the point where you were starting to see my bones and everything, and it was. I didn't notice it. I thought I looked fine.
Right.
And then when I went to rehab, I met someone called, her name is Meredith. Come to find out.
We love Meredith.
Oh, yeah. We hung out with some of the same people, and some of her stories that she told me about some of the people that I was hanging out with really changed my mind about the way I was living.
Right.
Because it could have ended a whole lot worse.
Right.
I think it could have ended up, I'm going to end it kind of with this, but right before I went to rehab, I was hanging out with people that were shooting up. I never did it, but I mean, it was offered to me.
Right.
So I think that if I would have stayed and not decided to change, that things would have gotten a lot worse for me.
Right. Well, praise God.
Thank Jesus.
Thank Jesus. We met you, and the Lord met you where He did and when He did, and you've made it.
I have.
You're on the other side. This is the other side. And let me tell you something, the other side is still a struggle. You still, sometimes He hits you with that magic wand, but sometimes He makes you walk through stuff. And so you're doing what I'm doing. We're walking through the other side of addiction. And it's a beautiful thing. I'm proud of you. I love you. I'm so glad you're my friend.
Thank you.
I want y'all to be friends with her. This is Raven. Hit her up. She'll minister to you. She'll lead you in the path you need to step out of addiction and get to the other side where we have made it. Not that we're perfect. Not that we're perfect. Just that we've made it out of meth addiction. And we're not going back.
Nope.
And so we love y'all, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.